The year is 1996 and a team of agents arrives at a hospital to gather several orphan babies, putting a special tag on each of them before being sent to a special program where they will become the perfect soldiers. They are specifically chosen and go through an extremely difficult training program during which they are taught that weakness isn't an option and that they must be perfect at all times, always obeying orders and showing no emotion. They make the kids watch animals fight and kill each other, so they become numb to violence. They are also under supervision at all times and they can't leave their rooms. When the kids turn 8, the training of their minds and advanced skills begins. They have to be in classrooms every day and work on all kinds of puzzles and strategy problems. When they turn 12, the training becomes brutal. The kids have to run many miles each day and keep their bodies in perfect condition. One day they are running in a field and one boy falls behind because of exhaustion. A truck comes for the boy and kills him without mercy because the program has no place for weakness. The other boys aren't allowed to react either, they just have to keep running. Once the kids grow into teenagers, they are trained with guns and taught to kill every target in sight, not allowing them to ever show mercy during missions. By the time they turn 17, these boys are fully formed weapons and ready for combat, which is signaled with a special tag tattoo on their faces. The best soldier in this class is Todd. By year 2036, he hasn't failed a single mission, although he has gained many scars. He travels all over the world and even to the moon, leading the special team through brutal battles during which they kill without remorse or mercy. Todd goes as far as to kill an innocent woman just to reach his target. He only cares about the mission, not his fellow soldiers, and has never experienced normal human interaction. The commander behind this special unit is Church, who is very proud of his team's success. However, soon things get complicated when Colonel Malcolm comes to their base with a whole new unit, explaining that they are genetically engineered soldiers, almost superhuman. According to him, this means that they are better than Church's men and that Church should disband his program. Church disagrees, pointing out nothing can beat his soldiers' years of experience. Then Malcolm proposes to make both units compete against to prove which is the best one. Malcolm calls for Kane to represent his team. When the test's being, Kane quickly proves his superiority. He's more precise with the guns and he can lift more weight without getting tired. During a running race, Todd goes ahead because Malcolm gives him 20 extra minutes. But when Kane starts running too, he still manages to surpass Todd even if he started much later. Church still refuses to accept this and says new soldiers lack fighting spirit, so he adds another test. Todd and Kane begin climbing some steel chains, and once again, Kane proves to be faster even if he starts later. Next, Church wants to prove that battle experience matters, so he asks for a fight on the chains. Malcolm is smug and says that for it to be fair, 3 people should go against Kane. 2 more soldiers quickly join Todd on the chains, but this doesn't make a difference. Kane's just too strong and after exchanging a few hits, he quickly kills both soldiers, throwing their bodies to the ground. Todd manages to stay a bit longer and jumps on Kane, injuring his face to the point Kane loses an eye. Kane still can fight though and throws Todd on the piles of bodies on the ground. Malcolm won, but he is still furious and yells at Kane because such an injury means he isn't perfect anymore. Thinking Todd is really dead, Church accepts the new unit, and while the older veterans aren't killed, they won't be on active duty anymore. Malcolm orders to throw the bodies out as garbage, and a giant ship carries all the waste to a planet called Arcadia, which is a planet covered in trash. During the trip, Todd wakes up, feeling scared for the first time in his life as he realizes where he is. Suddenly the ship hatch opens to let go of all the trash, and Todd tries his best to hold on yet he still falls down on the planet. Luckily he manages to survive the fall and starts exploring the area. At first he only sees waste, but eventually he notices people in rags moving around. Todd decides to follow them, but at that moment, a giant sandstorm starts to hit the area and Todd has to hold down until it passes. Eventually Todd gets out of the storm and walks into a graveyard, noticing many people have died on this planet. After some more walking, he finally arrives at what seems to be a colony that these people have built from garbage and shit parts. He sneaks around the stairs, but before he can do anything, a gust of wind throws Todd off and he passes out after noticing a bunch of kids staring. Afterward, all the people in the colony argue over what to do with Todd. It has been many years since anyone new came to this planet, so they don't know if they should trust Todd. In the end, the leader decides they'll help Todd but Mace must keep an eye on him. Meanwhile, Todd is being taken care of by Mace's wife Sandra, who shares medicine with him. The couple has a young kid named Nathan, who is curious about Todd but they don't let him be near him. When Todd is finally healthy enough to leave the bed, he finds the family having a happy time together, and he doesn't know how to feel. Mace shows him he made a crutch for him, and Todd decides to behave for now. In the evening, the family brings Todd to the communal mess hall, and everyone feels wary of Todd because he eats a lot and doesn't speak, not to mention his soldier tattoos. When someone asks him what his deal is, Todd explains he was replaced by a better soldier, and people begin feeling more sympathetic toward him. From that on, Todd spends his time with Sandra, learning to do basic everyday chores. Sandra uses this time to teach him about the colony. This little town wasn't always here. The people were on their own ship traveling until the ship broke down and they crash landed here. It happened 3 years ago and help never came, But Sandra doesn't mind because nobody bothers them here and they live in peace. Meanwhile, Malcolm reveals he has been watching the Arcadia system and wants to set up monitoring stations there. He also wants to send out his new soldiers to patrol. If there are any refugees or minors, they will be officially classifiable as hostiles, which Church doesn't approve of. Back in Arcadia, Sandra is taking care of the gardening and shocks Todd by teaching him how to plant a sprout. Suddenly a snake comes closer and Sandra immediately kills it, explaining they can be dangerous. One bit Nathan once and he was sick for a long time. He is better now, but he can't talk because of it. Sometime later, Todd goes out with the men to salvage things from the trash. Because of the weather, they all keep chains connected to their belts not to get lost. Unfortunately, a really strong sandstorm hits the area then, and a man gets trapped in the wind. The guys start pulling at the chain before their friend is blown away into an old machine, but they aren't strong enough to defeat the wind. At that moment, Todd joins in and begins pulling at the chain, his strength alone enough to save the man from the storm. During the struggle, someone drops a weapon and Todd picks it up, but the men immediately ask for it back while thanking him for his help. A ship flies above them and Todd gets curious, but Idas explained that the dumper ships just drop garbage and leave without making contact. Days pass and Todd gets used to life in the colony, working with the men salvaging the trash and with Sandra on the chores. One evening, Todd's so distracted by watching Sandra that he accidentally cuts his finger and he doesn't even notice the pain until Sandra takes care of the wound. She wonders what soldier life is like, and Todd explains he's always under discipline, which makes her hug him for comfort. When Christmas time comes, the colony throws a huge party. Todd's doing well until some crackers go off and Todd mistakes them for gunshots. This triggers his PTSD and he begins having flashbacks of all the horrible training he went through. Fearing what he may do, Todd goes to hide on the roof and watches the party from afar. The next day, Todd tries to keep down his violent training by punching a bag. However, this continues to bring back lots of brutal memories filled with death and destruction, including the time he had to kill a child. At that moment, a man comes closer to give Todd a gift, but Todd is still caught in his memories and can only see an enemy, so he pushes the man down by the throat. He almost kills him by throwing him inside a machine, but luckily he snaps out of it just in time and realizes lots of people are watching. Now everyone's getting wary of him again, especially when he keeps punching the bag until his hands bleed. This brings up another memory of him being in the classroom and beating up a fellow kid as his teacher reminded him he mustn't have mercy. Sometime later, Todd wakes up to find Nathan nearby, showing him that he solved a puzzle. At that moment a snake shows up and Todd tries to teach Nathan how to kill it, but Nathan is too afraid and freezes. Todd immediately jumps in and catches the snake, but he doesn't kill it. Instead, he asks Nathan to try again. Suddenly Sandra and Mace arrive and kill the snake while they scold Todd for putting Nathan in danger. By this point the colony has had enough. They tell Todd he'll never fit in and that he's becoming too dangerous, so they kick him out. Todd gathers his things and walks away, shocking himself when he cries for the first time ever. Soon after that, Sandra and Mace are sleeping peacefully when suddenly a snake gets on the bed. When it's about to bite Mace, Nathan shows up and bravely kills the snake like Todd taught him. Mace realizes that Todd had been right and rushes out of the house to look for Todd, finding him hiding in the trash. He apologizes for what happened and invites him to come back. At that moment, a ship full of Mukum soldiers arrives on the planet, which Todd quickly identifies as a military ship and makes Mace run away with him. Soon lots of vehicles and soldiers come out of the ship, including Kane, and the colony raises an alarm to get in a defensive position. The soldiers then start attacking, shooting anyone in sight. Explosions begin occurring all over the place and Mace is hit by one, so Todd has to drag him away. When they reach a hiding spot, Todd tries to wrap up Mace's wounds, but it's too late and Mace dies asking for his family. Meanwhile, Church gets the news about the colony, but Mukum orders his soldiers to kill them even if they're civilians. Just in case, Church decides to get his old soldiers ready. The leader of the colony comes out to try to communicate with the soldiers, but she just gets shot in the spot. The colonists immediately open fire to defend their home, but their few weapons aren't enough against such an army and soon the soldiers are causing death and destruction in town. They also come in with flamethrowers so they can slowly burn people to death in the most sadistic way. At that moment, Todd breaks through the roof and kills one of the flame soldiers. Then he gathers weapons from the fallen bodies and goes looking for the other flame soldier, who is currently chasing after Sandra and the kids. Luckily Todd gets there just in time and kills the guy with a rocket launcher. When yet another soldier begins shooting through the wall, Todd makes everyone duck before opening the door and shooting one more rocket to kill this man too. Afterward, Todd grabs the soldier's communicator and sends a growl to see what happens. Mukum wonders what to do next, and Church advises him to retreat his men, to which Mukum agrees. Once the soldiers are gone, the colonists use their time to heal the wounded, and Sandra is devastated when Todd confirms Mace is dead. Todd grabs as many weapons as he can find and paints his face, ready for revenge. Todd sneaks around to approach the landing area in secret and shoots one of the vehicles to cause confusion. The soldiers come out to look for him, and Todd secretly attacks from the dark. One guy gets pushed off the roof and another one gets a snake thrown at him. Then Todd hides in the water to stab a soldier and surprises another two with bullets. When more soldiers come in as backup, Todd begins shooting them all without caring about them shooting back. It turns out he's set up a puppet and he's controlling the weapon with strings from afar. He's also set up some explosives that he activates to kill many men at the same time. At that moment, a sandstorm arrives, so Todd ties himself to some old machinery while the wind takes away the last standing men. The last soldiers left are in vehicles, so Todd jumps from above to land on the roof and begins shooting any men he can see. Then he throws some explosives through the door to kill the drivers. However, Kane is still in his truck and attacking the colony again, causing even more damage. To get closer without suspicion, Todd steals a truck and comes after Kane by crashing against his vehicle. Kane jumps out of his car and immediately takes some medicine from his bag for his wounds. Todd goes looking for Sandra and the kids to rescue them, but Kane shows up for round 2. A new encounter between the men ensues, with them exchanging lots of blows and using any part of the colony for extra damage, like a falling sign in the window of a crashed helicopter. It seems Kane has the upper hand, and when Todd glances at a weapon on the ground, Kane goes for it first. This was a trick, and Todd uses the distraction to finally seriously hurt Kane with a helicopter blade. Then he punches him to the ground and grabs his neck to finally kill him. Moments later, Church's old army finds Todd and the survivors and doesn't attack because they still respect their old general. Meanwhile, Malcolm realizes he's lost all his men and orders Church to take off without the older guys. When Church protests, Malcolm immediately kills him. At that moment, the older unit enters the ship and captures Malcolm to take him to Todd, who is so scary that makes Malcolm wet his pants as he begs. Afterward, Malcolm and his counselors are thrown out of the ship and left on Arcadia, where a bomb goes off and kills them all. The ship takes off safely and it's revealed that the surviving colonists came aboard too, and now they're traveling to a better place to live at. Nathan asks Todd to pick him up and Todd finally experiences what real affection is like. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.